down in Alabama learned to fly and learned to become great airmen, great humanitarians, and they fought the double V, the victory against segregation in the United States and the victory against fascism and of Hitler's fortress Europe. 66 of the Tuskegee Airmen died in defense of this country. There's Charles McGee. He's flown more Air Force missions than any pilot in the United States Air Force. Do anybody know who Colonel Charles McGee is? No one knows. And that's what I feel is God has put me here to do, to be their legacy, to be their mouthpiece, to tell their story. And my job now is to carry on their legacy, not only of the Tuskegee Airmen, but all the aviators that came before them. Because the greatest aviator in history was a woman, Bessie Coleman. She was from Waxahachie, Texas. She died at a very young age, but she was one of the greatest heroes of my life was Bessie Coleman. In the history of people flying around the world, there's only been one African American that's flown around the world. I want to be the second African American to fly around the world in honor of the Tuskegee Airmen and all black aviators that came before them. I want to do it in a P-51 Mustang, just as the same as the Tuskegee Airmen fly. They're very expensive to fly, they're high maintenance, but it can be done if we have the right backing and the right help. I mean, flying a plane around the world is no different than flying from here to Tucson. It has to be planned, it has to be worked out, the math of it, the science of it, the weather of it, what it entails to do it, and you have the right people there in your crew. We can do this. We can give back to this legacy that these Tuskegee Airmen gave to this country.
My name is Yolanda Bonilla. I am the president of the American Legion Auxiliary here in Arizona. I'm serving for the year 2017-2018. Our mission is to support the American Legion by honoring the sacrifice of those who serve, by enhancing the lives of our veterans, military, and their families, both at home and abroad. We advocate for veterans, educate our citizens, mentor youth, promote good citizenship, Americanism, peace, and security.
I wanted to be in the military since I was a kid.
I served in the United States Air Force.
I served a total of 16 years.
I was deployed 13 times.
On my second deployment, 4 bombs hit my vehicle.
And at 19 years old, that's the first time I ever saw somebody die.
Coming back, I was raging.
I started having pretty horrible nightmares.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, sweats.
I started drinking a lot.
I felt worthless.
I guess I never recognized it in myself.
Eventually, one day I just walked into the VA hospital and said I'd like to see somebody.
Don't suffer alone. You got to find that link with somebody that'll make you let it go.
It all starts with going to the VA. There's a whole community of veterans that just want to help you out.
It's for the guys who couldn't come back, so you owe it to them to live well, because they're not here with their families.
We're a unique group of men and women that have fought for our countries in many different ways, and I'm proud to say that I am one of them. The military was a great time for me to really to grow, to mature, and give me an opportunity to understand myself and understand, what we're doing in our world. It gave me a lot more appreciation going overseas to that I think that gives you a great appreciation for living here in the United States. And my father was always a very important part. He talked about his time in service too. In World War II, he was with the Army Air Corps. He had served different places, so I always listened to his stories. I was an entrepreneur at one time. I had my own business, and then we sold that. And then from there, I got into financial planning, financial services, and working with people and trying to help them with their own financial needs. Then I had a moment, a tamale moment. And, for all my life, my mother had always told us that we need to get together to make tamales. And so I've always wanted to do something for my mother. And so I said, Mom, I'm gonna write a book about this. I'm gonna write a book about this family tradition, about you. So yeah, after 3 years, I was able to have my first book, Sophia's Awesome Tamale Day. And Sophia is my mother's name, so that's how I got that. That was easy to pick. Yeah, so that was the first one, Sophia's Awesome Tamale Day. The second one, I realized that people kept on saying, there's a real need for these type of books. And so I realized that what I was writing were books that were teaching kids about their traditions and culture and being proud of their heritage. And I also wanted to add a little bit of history in there. But the really thing is, as I continued to write more, I found out is that I wanted them to also honor their parents, their ancestors. And so after writing these books, after writing 2 or 3 books, I realized that I had a model. And the model was, I wanted this message that I wanted to share with the kids. This is important that these kids should understand this. The second thing was that Sophia, this young girl, she's the one that provides life learning experiences. And then the third thing was Pepe the Parrot. And Pepe the Parrot has really been incredible. The kids really relate to the parrot. And so Pepe has become, he's probably the most famous out of everybody in the book, in the stories. And he gets to have the last word. He gets to teach the kids new words in Spanish. He's the one that says all the funny jokes. He's a funny guy. So when I ask after the story, I read it in classrooms. And when they share this story, they all want to know more about Pepe. Where did Pepe come from? And is Pepe going to be in the next book? And so, but you asked me about the names of the books. So that was the first book, Sophia's Awesome Tamale Day. The second book is called The Search for the Lost Art of Making Tortillas. And I got that idea because my grandmother made tortillas every day. My mother, she made them less. My sisters think going to Costco is making tortillas. The next story was about Isabella's treasure. And this is a story about Sophia trying to find her family's treasure, and along the way discovers the real treasure about knowing your family's history. And it was at this point I realized that a lot of kids in school today have a problem with their identity. What they hear things in the radio and the television, and they're very concerned about who they are and where they came from and where they belong. So I wanted to share the story about Sophia and her ancestor Isabella, teaching kids about their culture, tradition, and being proud of their heritage, and honoring and respecting their ancestors. That's the real key to all my books. The first one, the Tamale book, which is Sophia's Awesome Tamale Day, that's about bringing family together, that family tradition of tamales. The search for the lost art of making tortillas, that's about keeping those traditions alive and keeping family together like that. I just feel like I'm helping our community to be better.
For decades, women have been an integral part of our armed forces, answering the call of duty and making sacrifices to protect our country. In addition to their military roles, these women are mothers, wives, partners, students, community leaders. From their military experiences emerge new strengths and skills, which are carried over to civilian life.
Military taught me how to be stronger, how to have faith in myself, to trust my instincts, to fight when I needed to. It taught me how to be a leader. And once I learned how to be a better leader, I learned how to be a better mother.
But this strength can be tested at times as women face life challenges during and after their service.
You're expected to be one of the guys, and you strive to be one of the guys. You're just trying to be like your brothers next to you, which can be challenging because you kind of lose your identity as a woman.
Going from being in the military and then having to build my own life from scratch, that was, a source of anxiety, and that got worse.
At some point you get tired of your life as it is, or I got tired of my life as it was and needed to do something about it.
Resources and support are available to help veterans and their loved ones move forward with their lives.
My name is Yolanda Bonilla. I am the president of the American Legion Auxiliary here in Arizona. I'm serving for the year 2017-2018. Our mission is to support the American Legion by honoring the sacrifice of those who serve, by enhancing the lives of our veterans, military, and their families, both at home and abroad. We advocate for veterans, educate our citizens, mentor youth, promote good citizenship, Americanism, peace, and security.
I served in the United States Air Force.
I served a total of 16 years.
I was deployed 13 times.
On my second deployment, 4 bombs hit my vehicle.
And at 19 years old, that's the first time I ever saw somebody die.
Coming back, I was raging.
I started having pretty horrible nightmares.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, sweats.
I started drinking a lot.
I felt worthless.
I guess I never recognized it in myself.
Eventually, one day I just walked into the VA hospital and said I'd like to see somebody.
Don't suffer alone. You gotta find that link with somebody that'll make you let it go.
It all starts with going to the VA. There's a whole community of veterans that just want to help you out.
It's for the guys who couldn't come back, so you owe it to them to live well, because they're not here with their families.
my name is Domingo Bonilla. I'm the Department Commander of the American Legion of Arizona, and I'm proud to serve my country, and I'm proud that I served in Vietnam. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I joined the Army. I went to school at Fort Bliss, Texas. I went to Fort Hood, Texas for the MP school in Fort Hood, Texas. And I did my time. I went to Vietnam. I did a 1.5-year tour. And I got wounded. I was a gunner at the helicopters. I was a gun operator, and I got the Bronze Star and Silver Star. I was very honored to get that. And when I came out of the service, I moved to my hometown, El Paso, but there was no jobs, and I moved back. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. And my son, matter of fact, my son came one day and says, "Dad, there's some old guys in this building. I went to cut the grass, and they're all veterans." So I went to see the American Legion Post 5 in Chandler. And right the first day I was there, it really helped mentally because I was still young. I was still in my 30s, but I still had memories of Vietnam. Like I said, no war is a pretty war. The American Legion is the largest program in the world. We have the most members in the world. We're going to have our centennial here pretty soon, in a couple of years, for the American Legion. We started in 1919. So it's an old program for our veterans. We started the Bill of Rights. So when people ask us, what do we do? Well, first of all, if you have children who serve their country or your dad, we are the ones who fought for their rights to get the Bill of Rights. Well, our concerns right now is in the American Legion that we have so many veterans coming from Afghanistan, the Middle East wars, doing 2, 3, 4 tours. And what we're trying to do now is trying to educate those younger men that are coming back from the Middle East to tell them, hey, it's okay, we're here for you. Overall, the American Legion is aware of the promise of our veterans, the promise of our community, our children, our schools. We're involved in a lot of things in the American Legion. It's not just about veterans. So we do work hard for our community and our state and our veterans. We do care about our children, our neighbors. Mostly all the programs we utilize and the funds that we raise is for our community and state, not just only for our veterans. So you know that we do work hard.
We matter because we support our veterans community. We have been doing this since 1919. We advocate for veterans because they come back and a lot of them are basically lost. Not only physically, but mentally. So the need is there. The families need so much. They've given so much. And our mission is to advocate for veterans, the community, and children. And we support, all our programs support their 4 pillars. And their 4 pillars are Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation, National Security, Americanism, and Children and Youth. As far as children and youth, we support Boys State, Girls State. We support junior shooting sports, the oratorical contest, the Americanism essay contest, and basically anything in the community that supports children. That's our future. If we don't take care of our children, where are we going to be in 20, 30, 40 years? They need to learn our American values. That is why they're important. No matter where you come from, we're a melting pot, and we need to melt a little bit better.
I am the commander for 6,000 members in the state of Arizona for the Sons of the American Legion. Our role is to support our veterans in any capacity that we can. We do that by supporting our post. With working with the American Legion, the Legionnaires, we have the ability to be a family, one big family. Sons of American Legion is a program of the American Legion. We are supporters of the Legion. The Sons are members that are non-veterans, those who did not serve. We are honoring our veterans, our family, our forefathers. That could be our parents, our grandparents, our step-parents. One of our concerns is that we need to keep our momentum moving forward. Our membership is getting older. Therefore, with that, our members are starting to change, that being of age. We have newer veterans coming on, that means they are younger. We have newer sons coming on that are younger. And we're trying to make sure that our older members are staying together with us as a family and not leaving us. We don't get involved politically. We take a stand to support our veterans in any way we can to the best of our ability. As far as that goes, we raise money for them. We go and we try to help them at special events. We try to be there for them if they need assistance at homes. Whatever it takes that we can do as sons, we want to be there.
My words of encouragement to any young person is get a strong, viable education. Work hard on getting an education. Use every scrap of intelligence and books that you can read, every scrap of knowledge you can get will pay dividends down the road. Get an education. Be a man. Be a good citizen. Be a person of worth. And the world will pay you back triple-fold, thousand-fold in dividends. I'm living proof that it's not where you come from, it's where you want to go and where you end up. And I'm a man who come from humble beginnings, but I feel now I'm respected in my field. I'm a light to young people, and that's what I want to be. That's my words of encouragement.
My words of encouragement would be, one, to know what you want, to understand, these are my goals, this is my dream. Two, I think it's so important that you get an education and utilize all the benefits and resources from the military to able to get the education and continue to educate yourself. Work hard and realize the resources that you have available to you based on the goals that you want to. But work hard at what you're trying to do and never give up.
This program was made possible in part by the American Legion Auxiliary, Department of Arizona, and the West Valley Foundation, celebrating diversity.
But you got to think this is OSB and wood. We're going to be dealing with hydrocarbon couches, curtains, carpets, all that stuff that's going to burn a lot quicker and a lot hotter than any of the stuff in here.
Today we're going to be putting the recruits through flashover training. Flashover is a life-threatening event that can happen in the fire when all the contents of a room simultaneously heat up, reach an ignition temperature, and everything within that room or structure simultaneously lights on fire. Eventually, when all the contents of that room start to heat up, you'll see actual fire moving through the smoke. The smoke is a sign of where the fire has been and where it's going. If they can recognize and see that and feel the heat, they can do something about it. They can open up their nozzles, cool the environment, upset that thermal balance. So not only will they recognize what a flashover is, they will actually prevent a flashover from actually happening and keep themselves safe and any victims safe inside.
Go. Learn to have fun. Discover the moment. Capture. Amazing. Savor the day. Enjoy the summer while advancing your degree with on-campus and online classes made for your life. Northern Arizona University, the difference that matters.
Jared Valdir plays football for a living. He's 6'8", 29 years old, and weighs 321 pounds. He can bench 450 pounds. He's a strong man, a really strong man. Jared protects other strong men for a living, but he can't protect you.
On the football field, I'm your guy. But in your car, it's up to you.
If Jared blows it, it's only a game. If you blow it, it's your life. Seatbelts for life.
You know, I knew Lance and Gavin and went to high school with them, and they asked me to come out here and paint their wall, and we just decided to just do like a little pop-up shop. And you know, since we're all born and raised pretty much in Phoenix and Peoria, it was kind of like a no-brainer, I guess. I mean, I'm just doing my thing, trying to, you know, represent Arizona and where I'm from and own it, kind of, you know. There's tons of potential down here. Like, I came into this shop for the first time a couple months ago, and I was like, finally there's something like this that feels like downtown-ish or feels, you know, San Fran-ish, New York-ish, but it's here, and it's like, it was super cool. And that's when I was instantly like, man, I want to do something down here because this is a cool vibe that I haven't experienced on this side of town. And people out here want that, you know, we just haven't given it to them yet.
Good morning and welcome to STEM Pro Live. My name is Marlis with the Maricopa County Education Service Agency, and I am here with Jake Bodell, an architect at Orcutt Winslow, an architecture and design firm right here in downtown Phoenix. But not only is Jake an architect, but he specifically works on projects related to school systems. So whether that's an elementary, middle, or high school building that needs classrooms for all you students to sit in, and a cafeteria and maybe a gymnasium, or an administration building where some of your school leaders work, those are the projects that go to Jake. So I'm going to turn it over to him and let him talk a little bit about what all he does in his job here, and also how he first got interested in architecture. And remember, students, that throughout the broadcast, when Jake's speaking, feel free to send in the questions you have for him, and I'll ask him those and have him answer those near to the end of the broadcast. So Jake, thanks so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I love being an architect. Right now we are on the 16th floor of a high-rise in downtown Phoenix. That's where I get to work every day. I get to look out at all the buildings, which I love to see. Orcutt Winslow is an architecture firm, like she said. Architects are the leaders that design buildings. I say leaders because there's a lot of help and a lot of experts that work on a project like this. Architects is one of the, being an architect is one of the oldest jobs. There was an architect that designed the pyramids and that designed castles, but it's changed a lot because we use technology now to do our designs. So in doing schools, I have a lot of help. There are civil engineers and structural engineers and experts in plumbing and air conditioning and electrical, and an architect is the leader of that whole team. So they need to be good at talking to people and working together in groups and teams. And we also get to be in charge of the design. We want to make buildings look beautiful and special. And in schools especially, don't you guys want to be able to come to your classrooms and be proud of the school that you're in, and have a classroom that has nice light and sound properties, and making a good space is something that I've always been interested in. When I was a kid in school, I always remembered whenever I learned anything, I learned what seat in the classroom I was sitting in, or what room in the whole school. I always thought about spaces and shapes a lot. And my dad, who was a builder, he's the one that would actually, build buildings. He'd take me out to different projects as they were getting built. I just thought that was so cool to see somebody's idea coming up from the ground and becoming real. So that, and I was always, I was not very sharp at math in elementary school. I always remembered when we did our multiplication tables, I was the last one to finish a lot of those, but something just clicked in 6th grade and it all started making a little bit more sense. I think about the time we started learning about geometry and shapes, and I still use a lot of that today to figure out the sizes of buildings and the heights, and to talk to my engineers about how to make things safe and strong in our buildings. So I wanted to walk you through an actual project that I did with the other architects here at Orcutt Winslow and with all my partners, all those engineers. And that's a school that we recently did in Queen Creek. Usually a big school like this, about 100,000 square feet, probably a lot like some of the schools you're in, takes maybe 2 years for the architects and the owners to get together and design this building, and then another that's usually about 6 to 8 months, and then it usually takes 1.5 years or so to build. This one we had to do so fast because out where the school is built, the population was growing and they needed a school really bad. So we did this whole project, designing it on the computer and actually building it in 7 months. We had some really good help from different people. Just kind of walk around and show you. This computer program that we use is almost like a video game where we build the buildings ahead of time, and then we can figure out how they need to come together to be built. All that computer information comes into a set of drawings like this. This one's about 120 pages, different sheets with drawings of how the builder's actually going to build the thing. But in order to keep it all straight, we rely on this computer model. Just fly around a little bit here. This school is one big building. You see that more and more these days, to do one building for a school, maybe 2 stories. because you'll save energy if all the classrooms open to an inside hallway that's air conditioned. It's also safer because you don't have people wandering in off the street into your school. There's a nice front entry. And this school, running right down the middle, has a big 2-story hallway, nice and tall. So when the students come in the morning, they get to see this big space. And sometimes they have PE in here, sometimes they have big project displays or events like the school carnival. And so we try and make this a really large, inviting space. And the classrooms, if you go down one of these corridors, go through one of these doors, like classrooms with lots of windows to let in natural light. And you've got technology in these classrooms, like a smart board. And these students have tablets that they can do class assignments on. You notice there's lights in the ceiling and air conditioning vents. You've got sink and storage cabinets. So you can start to see that a lot of things go into any building like this. And it's really fun for me to keep track of all that and work with different people to make it come together. Like I said, we did this building really fast. And one of my favorite parts about being an architect is that you get to see it get built. So a couple of times a week, I leave my desk and my computer here and take a tablet with the plans on them, and I get to walk around the job site as things are getting built. This is a picture of the elevator shaft, where they had to dig down and build up concrete in order to put an elevator in the future. So this was about 6 months ago. This was about 2 months ago. You see they built up all the walls. They started putting the windows in, but it's still pretty blank and white. This is what it looked like on the inside before the roof went on. You can see the masonry walls and the steel going across for the roof before it gets put on. This is what it's like before they pour a slab that you all walk on in the classrooms. And this is the library when it was finished. It has big glass doors that open out into that 2-story atrium space so that big events with lots of people can happen in there. And this is what it looked like at the end, when everything was painted and finished and metal panels. This was just a few weeks ago before students showed up for school. So we got it ready in time, and that's why I like my job. I get to see these ideas that I had in the computer actually get built in the real world.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jake, for talking to us about everything that you do. We've got several questions coming in already, and I think we'll start off with how do you start a project? What do you do first when you find out that there's a school system or some other company that wants to build something? How do you get started?
Sure. Something I like about architecture is it's a mix between art and engineering or science. And so we want to make something that looks nice, so we might sketch a lot, we might build models in the computer or out of paper and cardboard to try and make something look nice. But at the same time, we need to know what the project actually needs to be. How many students are you going to have in this space? What kind of school is it? How do they teach? And so you kind of gather all that information, and you just kind of start with early plans that maybe it's just a lot of colored squares on a page at one time, but then you build it up into an actual school in those models that we saw.
Very cool. And along with that, how much do you work with teachers, principals, maybe even students within the school to make it something that really works for them?
Sure. We like to ask lots of questions. That process at the very beginning is called programming. We'll make big lists, and maybe we talk to the science teacher about what the science teacher needs. We'll talk to the principal about what they'd like to see for safety and security and meeting rooms. But we definitely love to get out and meet with teachers. My mom's a teacher, and so that's something that we hope our buildings make it even better for kids to go to school, for students to attend class, and for the teachers to teach in. Awesome. Something we always keep in mind.
Very cool. And how long did it take you to become an architect?
That's a good question. It took a while. So after I finished high school, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be an architect or something else. And when I went to classes at Arizona State University, the architect classes were just so fun because we were working on models and projects and real things. I could stay up all night working on these projects. My other classes, I didn't do quite as well. Sometimes I'd fall asleep because I'd been up so late. I just knew, oh, this architecture stuff is fun. But it took me 4 years to get an undergraduate degree, and a lot of architects have master's degrees, so that's another 2 years. So after 6 years of school, I then took 7 tests, and I had to work for a couple of years, and then I could call myself an architect. You get a little stamp that you can put right on the drawings that says, Jake Bodell, Architect.
Awesome. And how long does it take from the initial finding out you're working with a partner to design a building to the finished product? What does that timeline look like?
Depends on how big and how complex the building is, but on this one we had to go so fast that we kind of gave them a set of plans to start building from in just 2.5 months from the time we started, which is pretty fast when you think about all that has to go into those 120 pages. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's 8 months.
Awesome. And how many architects does it take to design a building, which I'm sure kind of depends on the project as well?
Sure, I think on this project we had 4 or 5 people that maybe they don't work on it every single day, all day long, but they come in and help out. That's something else I love, is that it's different every day. Maybe I'll help somebody with this little project or do my own thing. Maybe I'm out in the field, maybe I'm meeting with teachers. Well, very different every day. And yeah, sometimes a team of 2, sometimes a team of 4 or 5, depends on how big it is.
Awesome. And when you're building the models that you talked about, do you use foam mock-ups or do you use 3D printed models to show your clients, or maybe both?
Sometimes we do. A lot of the models are just on the computer, like you saw. We love making those models, and we've been doing more and more of that, but if you really want to show a teacher their classroom, you can't really get inside those little models, so we like to do it all on the computer, and they can walk right through it, just like on a video game.
Awesome. And you mentioned several of it was when you took geometry that you first started to get interested in the work you now do. How well do you use science and math in what you do?
Sure, I wish it was more. It's not a whole lot, but things like use addition and multiplication all day long. Don't use much algebra. We use a lot of science in thinking about designing buildings. We want to make sure that they use as little energy as possible. So there's a lot of science that goes into lighting and energy and plumbing. But a lot of those things I have engineers that help me with. So I don't use a whole lot of math day to day, but it was a really good foundation for figuring things out. One thing I use all the time is area. Length times width equals your size. In architecture, we use square footage. That's how we figure out how big to make different spaces. I know that a good classroom size is 900 square feet. A gymnasium might be 9,000. That helps us make sure that our buildings are actually the right size.
Awesome. And then did you have to take some art classes along with the math and science courses?
Yeah, we did. I mean, that's something that all architects usually love is art. There's some drawing. Even though a lot of that's on the computer, it's still fun for us to kind of have an artist's eye and appreciate different things about different buildings. All the buildings in a city, when you look around, the big ones were designed by architects, and so you're always looking for ideas, and I think there's some art to that.
Awesome. And we've got a few different classrooms that are curious about the software that you showed us. And are you able to explain kind of generally how you use that or how that works?
Sure. The first drawing software that was around maybe 30 years ago was all just drawing lines, and then you print those out on paper. This software, you actually will model a wall, and that wall knows how thick it is and what materials are in it and how tall it needs to be, so you really put a lot of information in there, and then your model's really smart. I could tell a contractor that you've got this many cubic yards of concrete in your whole building. We've got it figured out because we've modeled it in there. This one that we use is called ArchiCAD. It's a great tool, but one thing that I really love to play around with, and in school and even still to come up with quick, fast designs, is SketchUp. That's a fun thing that any middle schooler could learn and have a lot of fun making shapes and buildings and furniture, cars, whatever you could imagine.
Awesome. And we've got a great question that just came in. How does the architect, or you, work with builders? What's that relationship like?
That's a good question. So both of us will work for the owner. In the case of a school, it's maybe a school district. And so we're working with them, with the owner, to figure out what they want, and that's when we come up and put all their ideas and our ideas on paper, and then we give that to the contractor, and he's trying to build it. And even during construction, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of things that weren't quite figured out. I always like to think about when you make a car, one of these big car companies, they do it 100,000 times, so they've really got it perfected. This building that we make is one of a kind, and so it's the first time you're doing some of these things together. So there's a lot of working together. They're going to ask us questions in the field, and we'll respond by either sending drawings or giving instructions. But there's a lot of working together. I like working with contractors.
Awesome. Oh, that's a good question too. What's the difference between, is the contractor the builder, or what is that?
Sure. A contractor basically means builder.
Okay.
Sometimes there's different ways sometimes the contractor day one has to set a price and build the whole thing for that and make it work. Sometimes there's other relationships where you'd have a construction manager, but contractor basically means builder.
Got it. Fantastic. And how many school buildings have you built? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh boy. You lose a little bit of track. Sometimes you'll do a campus that has 5 buildings or 10, but I bet it's about 50 so far.
Wow.
In the 6 years I've been doing this.
Wow, 6 years you said,
Mm-hmm.
50 buildings. Wow, very cool. And one classroom wanted to know, what's the biggest building you've ever worked on? Happen to know that one off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's probably Thunderbird High School. We did 4 or 5 buildings there, and that was about 220,000 square feet, which is pretty big.
Great. And now we've got a couple questions that have come in about the relationship between the contractor and the architect that you were just talking about. So one asked, have you ever designed a building that the contractor built wrong, or maybe didn't turn out like it was quite supposed to? And I don't know how much detail you're able to go into,
Sure.
but what do you
That's a
do
great
in that
question.
situation?
Most of the contractors I work with, fortunately, are really good, and they want to make something look really nice because their name's on that as well. But sometimes you see things a little bit differently, and it may not have worked out just the way you wanted. Sometimes we can fix it, but sometimes you just have to let it go and realize, next time I'll do that a little bit better. I'll give them a little bit more drawings or more information and do it just the way I want it. So it's a learning process.
Awesome. And related to that, how important are relationships and communication skills in what you do?
Oh, they're very important. Like I said, if I was the kind of person that just liked to work on my computer and I didn't like to talk to people or be around people or work together, this probably wouldn't be the right job. I love working with people and calling my experts on the phone or meeting together to come up with a solution. Every day is a different problem, and solving that is something that I really love. And usually don't do that alone. I always bounce ideas off other people and gather their experiences, because it's always going to be a better project if you get that help from other people.
Awesome. And is there one particular building or project that you worked on that you really enjoyed more than any other, kind of your favorite project to work on?
There have been a lot of favorites. A really cool building that I'm proud of, and we'll put a picture online so you can see this, is the Hope Community Center. And that building, before you walk in, we had the idea of, we want people to really know they're coming in someplace special. And we put a huge wall above the door that tilts down on you like this. And instead of just having paint, it was covered in mirrors. And so you can see yourself walking in, and it's just really interesting to sit there and watch people come and go, and that reflection of kind of changing your orientation when you walk in is something that people enjoy, and it's a cool front to a building. So I'm proud of that.
Very cool. That sounds really, extra awesome to walk through. And we've got one school, I assume Desert Mirage Elementary School, is curious if you know, did you happen to design their building?
We did, their gymnasium. So Orcutt Winslow has done jobs for Pendergast School District for a long time, and Desert Mirage is one of them. And we I did work on the gymnasium that you just got about 2 years ago.
Awesome. That's a
The other
really
buildings
cool
are a lot
connection.
older than that, but
Awesome. And then someone else wanted to hear, do architects only design buildings, or do you design things other than buildings? Like you'd mentioned cars, do architects design cars, or are those a different kind of engineer?
that's a great question. Those would, a lot of products that you see, like phones or computers, are designed by industrial designer. That means a product designer, basically. And cars are a special branch of that called automotive design. And they'll have lots of engineers working that too, but the actual look and feel of what a car is would be an automotive designer. Architects usually just really focus on buildings, but there's some overlap. Sometimes we get into the landscape, the trees and landscape and things around a building. That's a landscape architect, but there's some crossover. We work together with them, right? And sometimes we like picking really cool furniture that a furniture designer put in. So there's a lot of overlap. Graphic design, they do things like signs or websites. So we'll work with them a lot to do that, but architects are usually buildings.
Okay, and so you solely work on the buildings. You don't do any of the interior design yourself, or?
Well, interior design is kind of part of the building. So we have people here that are specially interior designers, and they know all about all the products that would go on the floor, or the ceiling, or the furniture, and they're great experts at that. But we kind of cross over. The idea of a space. When you design that, it's both architecture and interior design, and so we really kind of do both at the same time and work together as a team.
Awesome. And did you have any kind of internship or program where you kind of got to follow along some people, or were you dropped into the job and
I did.
learned there?
Part of my school was, in the summer between school years, at college was got assigned to work with an architect. And I worked with a great architect named Terry Sewell, and he mostly did houses and churches and small buildings, and it was just me and him, and he taught me a lot of things, and so that was a great start.
Very cool.
That was an internship.
Awesome. And where all do you build your buildings? Are you just here within the Phoenix area, across the state, or across the world?
That's a great question. It's where we can get projects. So we're known by a lot of the schools here in the state to be a really great architecture firm. We're the largest local firm in the state that is only here. This is our only office, but sometimes we'll get projects. I just finished a school in Texas. That was pretty unique. And we've had other projects elsewhere too.
Very cool. And what differences are there between building and designing a building here in Arizona as opposed to, maybe in the Midwest or out east, or does location make a difference?
It does, because your building is kind of an enclosure that protects you from the outside. You can't go to school in Alaska if it's minus 10 degrees outside and you don't have a really good wall and a really good furnace system that's keeping that heat in. Here, it's mostly about cooling, especially in the summers. We need to have a lot of air conditioning, and it determines what kind of glass we might have in your windows or what your wall is built out of. So we definitely take into consideration that thing. Also, snow. If 3 months of snow were to fall here in Phoenix, a lot of roofs would collapse because that's so heavy on them. That's something we don't usually have to deal with too bad, like they would elsewhere.
Great. And someone asked, do architects like you design parking garages as well?
Yep. They can. I don't do a lot of that. It's probably a specialty, somebody that knows just right how to fit all the cars in just right, how to make the ramps work. But we've got an engineer upstairs that does a lot of parking garages.
Very cool. And our time is starting to wind down, so if you have any other questions, get those in quickly. Here's a great one to start to bring things to a close, and that is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy your job?
Sometimes there's challenges, so maybe I should say a 9, but I can't imagine doing anything else. I don't think anything else would be as fun, so maybe I gotta say a 10.
Fantastic. Very cool. And how do you, when you finished a project, how do you judge that it's been successful? How do you know that?
What a great question to close with. I love to, usually when a big public building like a school is finished, they have a dedication. And so a lot of the people come, in this case, students and parents and teachers. And so it's really fun to see them enjoy the building and talk about it. And if there's some spaces that I came up with, some ideas that were right for me and they work, then that's something I'm really proud of. really fun to see.
All right, and we'll just finish with one last question,
Sure.
which is for the students listening today that say, oh, I really enjoy the idea of designing something. I really enjoy combining art and communication skills with some science and math. What advice would you have for them to do next, or how to maybe get where you are?
You know, make your own projects, have your own ideas. You know, I think the point that I really knew that I wanted to do this was when it was not just homework anymore, but it was really fun to work on these projects at home on my own time. And so, you know, try downloading SketchUp and modeling things on the computer. Try drawing. Try doing your own little project at your house. Come up with new ideas, and I think you'll find out if you really like it or not.
Very cool. And that's Google SketchUp is the name of that?
It was bought out by Trimble, but you just look up SketchUp online and you'll find it.
You should be able to find it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Jake.
My pleasure.
Thank you, students and teachers, so much for joining us. And please be on the lookout in your inboxes. You should be getting a survey from us very soon about STEM Pro Live, and if we're doing things you enjoy and that are useful in your classrooms, or if there are ways we can improve. We really want to know what we can do even better, because we want to do this for you guys. And also, if there were a few questions that came in at the end that we didn't have time for, I'll try to talk with Jake and see if we can get you those answers as soon as we can. So thanks so much again, and have a great rest of your school day.
But you got to think this is OSB and wood. We're going to be dealing with hydrocarbon couches, curtains, carpets, all that stuff that's going to burn a lot quicker and a lot hotter than any of the stuff in here.
Today we're going to be putting the recruits through flashover training. Flashover is a life-threatening event that can happen in the fire when all the contents of a room simultaneously heat up, reach an ignition temperature, and everything within that room or structure simultaneously lights on fire. Eventually, when all the contents of that room start to heat up, you'll see actual fire moving through the smoke. The smoke is a sign of where the fire has been and where it's going. If they can recognize and see that and feel the heat, they can do something about it. They can open up their nozzles, cool the environment, upset that thermal balance. So not only will they recognize what a flashover is, they will actually prevent a flashover from actually happening and keep themselves safe and any victims safe inside.
With a look inside Maricopa Community Colleges, this is Maricopa Now. Here are some of the stories. Scottsdale Community College fills a growing need with a unique teacher training program. Earning top honors in innovation, these student entrepreneurs are turning their ideas into reality. Plus, his passion for education is an inspiration. Meet this Rio Salado grad who has become an advocate for teachers across Arizona. And there's so much more on this edition of Maricopa Now. Welcome to our show. Thanks for joining us in Studio A at Scottsdale Community College. I'm your host, Kim Getz. While the future of education in Arizona has been a hot topic in the news lately, Maricopa Community Colleges continues to train teachers. Since 2003, one unique teacher training program at Scottsdale Community College has been sending teachers into K through 8th grade classrooms to teach young minds and meet the challenges of the state's growing teacher shortage. Jonathan Higuera has the story.
Since 2003, the Scottsdale Teacher Education Partnership has done its part to help offset the Arizona teacher shortage in public schools. The one-year program prepares participants to become teachers in elementary and middle schools. All must have 4-year college degrees or higher before being accepted, and many are making a career change into teaching.
It's so rewarding to see progression and development and to see your kids get that light bulb moment where they finally grasp a concept. Thank you for sharing that with us, Katie.
Kelly will be one of 22 teachers in training to graduate from the program this month. She earned her degree from Washington State University in 2016 and considered going back to pursue graduate school. But she decided to go into the STEP program instead. Now her goal is to be in charge of her own classroom next fall, and the program has given her more confidence to meet that challenge.
It fully immerses you in the field of teaching, and you get to work alongside with great professors who have so much experience teaching.
Coordinators say that the program has attracted a wide range of professionals such as accountants, journalists, corporate staffers, and even a jet fighter pilot. Others have been in the teaching field as paraprofessionals, but are now ready to move into full-time teaching roles.
I interview them, and each one of them all say, I'm coming into this post-bac program because I want a career that I make a difference, and I really want to make a difference for children.
Caleb Guest says that's why he decided to take his career in another direction. He had worked in the aerospace industry for 12 years doing IT and in other types of roles. But he started the STEP program last May, and now he's a teacher's assistant for 8th grade science classes at Ingleside Middle School. He says STEP's 300 hours of in-class internships gave him a better grasp of a teacher's workload and what is needed to be successful in the field.
So much of the teaching is adapting to what's going on, modifying when needed, and being willing to change things up. You've got to be able to adjust on the fly.
He also says that on those tough days when things don't go as planned, it's good to remember why he got into the profession and what his motivation was that led him to do it.
Because not every lesson goes well, and you have to accept those and learn from them. If we opened up the nucleus, we'd have long, long strands of DNA.
Because the STEP program looks for teacher candidates with a commitment to helping kids, retaining them in the classroom is one of STEP's strengths. Kyra McSwain had a career negotiating contracts, followed by 12 years as a stay-at-home mom. Now she's about to graduate from the STEP program and become a teacher.
It's not easy for everyone to be somewhere for 7 hours a day. Kids that are struggling, I hope to help them out and make their day a little brighter and make them want to learn.
Reporting for Maricopa Now, I'm Jonathan Higuera.
The Cisco Innovation Challenge rewards students for their entrepreneurial ideas. Elizabeth Eckel takes us to Paradise Valley Community College to meet two students who stood out in the competition.
Recently, two Paradise Valley Community College students won the Cisco Innovation Challenge competition. It's part of the ASU PODARE program, a 5-week entrepreneurship program offered to Maricopa Community College students at no cost, thanks to funding by Cisco.
After 5 weeks, students actually submit their plan, their project through a video to ASU's Entrepreneurship and Innovation Division, where they select which projects are going to the next levels.
Video entries are narrowed down to 8 finalists who then present a 5-minute PowerPoint introducing their innovation, followed by a Q&A session with the judges.
This PODARE program allows our students to think in terms of social entrepreneurship and to what extent entrepreneurship can actually create positive social change in the community. You will see their products, you will see their passion, and it's just so impressive.
SureStrap LLC is the first locking ratchet strap for the patent. SureStrap basically added a key in a lock, so you lock it and nobody can lift or release the tension so your things don't get stolen.
Mine is a home blood testing unit. I just figured it'd be a little safer way to have blood drawn if you could do it at home. And it'd be quicker too.
Pitching an innovative idea to a community audience and panel of judges can be intimidating, but Dr. Dash's students were well prepared.
He is somebody who genuinely cares about the students, and he's been there for me when anything I've ever needed, questions I've had to ask.
The great thing about PVCC, everyone is here to help you, and they want to see you succeed, and they will take the time with you to see that through.
When two of our students won this Cisco Innovation Challenge, it was just a matter of pride.
Paradise Valley Community College offers an entrepreneurship certification program to get anyone with an innovative idea started on the right track.
If you have an inkling for having a product and want to develop it, this is a great start.
For Maricopa Now, I'm Elizabeth Eckel.
Coming up on Maricopa Now, a fundraiser for student scholarships has this audience getting up close and personal with the characters from Spamalot.
So we were walking to school.
I started thinking about lunch. Mom packed me turkey and cheese.
She's
I really want
smart.
cheese pizza.
Sometimes her mind wanders.
We should have a sleepover.
I remember saying, Laura?
I think I heard Mom say something.
The sign says don't walk.
Sometimes it's so overwhelming.
I really hope she doesn't
I
have
really
another
hope I
bad
don't
day
have
at
another
school
bad day at
today.
school today.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
One recent graduate of Rio Salado College is sharing his passion for education in the classroom and advocating for teachers across Arizona. Lisa Aquafreda has his story.
Everyone take your hands and clap and go, ear means to go.
Step inside Lennon Audrain's Spanish class, and it seems he's been teaching for years.
Y'all go, ellos van, they go, ellas van, they go, ustedes van, you go. Okay?
It's something that I've always loved to do. I even got a chalkboard one time and a pencil sharpener, and it was like the best birthday gift I think I've ever. And so I think it was from then, and teaching's where it's at for me.
Students are captivated by his dynamic personality and his positive teaching style. And when students get a question incorrect,
everyone say ella, not Ella.
He makes everything fun. He tries to do it in a fun way and not in a boring way.
Where are they going? ¿A dónde van?
He makes me feel like I didn't get it wrong. It doesn't matter.
That's what you guys are going to do to figure out what these places are, okay?
Audrain has accomplished so much at the tender age of 18.
It's voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. And this means to go.
He graduated with 2 associates from Rio Salado before even graduating high school. And get this, he'll graduate with his master's in education May of 2019.
It's through the dual enrollment program at Rio Salado he was able to take college classes while in high school and join the national organization called Educators Rising.
The goal and mission of Educators Rising is to really solidify those good teaching practices in high school so we have great teachers in the future.
You know what va means, right? It means to go.
Teachers teaching teachers about teaching. So that's the best way I can put it, yeah.
Audrain's energy and enthusiasm for teaching is contagious. These students from Phoenix College look up to him.
He's just a great example of like a super fun teacher, someone that loves the students, someone that loves to teach, and someone that really cares about other teachers.
Ella va, she goes.
Looking at him and watching what he does, it's really exciting and I love it.
You may work with a partner on this.
And Maricopa Community Colleges help set him up for success.
He really helps kids understand kind of how to bring what's going on outside the classroom into the classroom.
Whatever the future holds, Audrain says he hopes to always make a positive impact through education. For Maricopa Now, I'm Lisa Aquafreda.
Lennon will be attending the Educators Rising National Conference this summer as the national president.
We are the players.
We
do, and you're watching MCTV.
Yes. That's an army.
No, darling, no.
It's on a big box.
Phoenix College artist and professor Janita Landrum takes us into her studio and shares her inspiration behind her art. Welcome to Spirit of the Arts. I'm Andrea Zakshesky.
Creating art for me always gave me just this peace. Even as a little person, I remember that feeling. I probably couldn't tell you what it was, but I remember when I was coloring, I would just feel a certain way about it.
Janita started painting as a child and discovered she had found her calling when she visited the Art Museum of Detroit.
I was just turned on. I was so jazzed at being in the museum. And then behind the museum was a college of art. And as soon as I stepped foot on the campus, I knew that was where I was supposed to be, and this was what I was supposed to be doing.
Janita continued her dream to be an artist and received her Bachelor of Arts from Arizona State University and Master's from Ohio State. Her work has been exhibited in solo and group exhibitions.
How I celebrate my heritage of being an African-American female, and then also with that being a woman. Those two things are kind of a revolving type of concept as I work in bodies of work. And in each body, it takes on a different type of characteristic. It started making this texture. I love the texture. I do too. Those are pieces that I created while I was in Germany. It's a little bit about Germany and it's a little bit about me. I think it's contemporary and conceptual. People know my work more so because of the color. I'm a master colorist. I love layering, whether I'm painting, I'm watercolor, I'm drawing. I like to slowly build up to a certain type of intensity.
What I like about her art and what speaks to me is that I have always been a person who enjoys looking at African art. What you also see is a story that she tells that you don't necessarily see with other art. And so it resonates because I recognize the story that's been told.
Janita enjoys mentoring artists.
What I'm good at is helping people find the level that they're at. What kind of artist are you? You know, because everybody doesn't create the same way.
She has given emerging and new female artists a place to show by exhibiting them in art galleries. Janita enjoys spreading her wisdom in the classroom as an instructor at Phoenix College. She teaches a bookless art history class.
So I created a class that was more interactive, that was stimulating. It was about the student. At the same time, I could bring in the historical references of art history.
She has a few suggestions for artists.
What I always tell artists is that learn how to play. A lot of students that I talk to, they come in there just so serious. It blocks that creativity. Through that play, what happens is that you're gonna have breakthroughs. I've had really good mentors along the way. They were all very successful. I figured that one day what I would do is that I would be able to mentor other women. And so that is actually what I'm doing.
Janita keeps in touch with artists she mentors and gets to hear their success stories.
One of my students, she called me the other day and she's going to Goldsmith in London. This girl is incredible. I've shown her in my gallery. She's in my traveling exhibition because she's very good. I am giving her that same experience that my mentors had did for me.
Janita continues to mentor students, paint, and continue her mission of helping artists.
The Maricopa Community Colleges offer classes for all kinds of skill sets that help foster the careers of artists.
If you feel moved by the works of Janita, perhaps her story will inspire you to discover your own artistic talents. For more information, go to phoenixcollege.edu. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Spirit of the Arts. I'm Andrea Zakrzewski.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self. And I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
The music department at Scottsdale Community College presented the musical comedy Spam-A-Lot, which retells the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Deanne Kincaid takes us behind the scenes and introduces us to this motley crew of characters.
I feel happy. I feel happy. I'm not dead yet. I can dance like a sing. I am not dead yet. I can do the hype thing. I am not dead yet. No need to go to bed. No need to call the doctor because I'm not yet dead.
Set in the Middle Ages, Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot is an irreverent parody of the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The king and his cohorts ride imaginary steeds to the comical sound of coconut shells beating out the clip-clop of horses' hooves.
Signified by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur.
Joshua Brody credits his deep voice and real beard with helping him land the role of King Arthur.
It was a blast, you know, Monty Python, such a fun script, quirky jokes, it's a great time.
Aubrey Cole said she auditioned at the very last minute and landed the role of Lady of the Lake.
It was
a great experience. Oh, I love doing the show, especially because I've usually played like more of a mom type of character, so like this kind of sexy kind of character is a little different for me.
With limited space and funding, Spamalot was chosen as a doable yet ambitious project. Cast and crew numbered close to 60 people, the largest production of the last decade. For several months, the cast rehearses only with the music director, Beth Livingston Hakes.
All the way through the production, I'm just playing the piano, so they don't ever hear all the beautiful colors and variations of the instruments.
It's not until Band Day, 2 weeks before the show opens, that the entire 9-piece band rehearses with the actors. Normally, the band would be hidden to one side of the stage, but this was the largest band they'd ever had, and it was on the stage behind the actors.
We wanted it back there for the Las Vegas scene so we could pull that curtain up and then see a little bit of us through the scrim.
Oh, there you go, bring class into it together.
Spamalot is a spectacle of period-correct costumes.
It really helps get into the character. We have CC Sickler, she's our lead costumer here, and she does a great job with all the costumes.
These audience members were enthusiastic supporters.
We loved it. It was great.
It was such a
really
good
funny.
show. It was so well put together. Everything was great.
This is a great department. It's a lot of work from a lot of people, 50 to 60 at least people putting in time into this. But it all comes together, and then hearing that audience laugh, bringing joy to them, that all makes it worth it.
I'm Deanne Kincaid for Maricopa Now.
I'll be there, waiting for you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Stay with us to see how students came together to offer a unique experience for the audience of Spamalot before the show.
Glendale Community College Police Academy, Fire Science, EMT, and paramedic students are put to the test in this mass casualty drill. It's an opportunity for students to prepare for incidents such as mass shootings, says EMS instructor Dan Malinowski. First responder students train each semester at the Glendale Regional Public Safety Training Center. For more information about these programs, visit Glendale Community College's website. Since 1990, a partnership between Phoenix Regional Police Academy and Rio Salado College offers students the opportunity to pursue their career goals. Recruits complete more than 700 hours of training to become police officers and earn college credit through Rio Salado College. This partnership offers the opportunity for career advancement. Officers can earn a certificate of completion or an Associate of Applied Science in Law Enforcement Technology. For more information, visit Rio Salado College's website. Mesa Community College is the site of Arizona's first accredited arboretum. The arboretum includes plants from around the world with nearly 100 species of trees and over 80 types of cacti and succulents. The Southern and Dobson campus earned this distinction recently after years of work by students and faculty. The arboretum also functions as a living laboratory for student research. For more information, visit Mesa Community College's website. Mesa Community College celebrates its 350th student internship with the Disney College program. Students from a variety of majors gain experience working at the Disney Parks and Resorts in California or Florida and can earn up to 6 college credits. Students interested in this paid internship can apply now for the fall semester. For more information, visit Mesa Community College's website. Students walked the runway to success recently. Gateway Community College students modeled clothing from local designers at Warehouse 115 at Bentley Projects in Phoenix. This annual fundraiser supports student success and retention programs. For more information, visit this address.
We're going to make a chilled cantaloupe soup with a lime grenade.
Now this is one of those menu items that can be used as an appetizer, an intermezzo, or even a light dessert. We usually serve it in our restaurant in the early fall or spring when the weather's still fairly warm. It's pretty refreshing stuff. I'm going to start by making the lime grenade. I'm going to add about half the water to start. And then gently whisk this together just to start dissolving that sugar. And then I'll add the remaining water. Now you can make this less sweet, you don't have to use all that amount of sugar, and that'll create a little more tart flavor to the lime grenade. I'm going to pour that into a shallow pan, and that's going to accelerate the freezing process. And during the first 3 hours of the freezing process, maybe 30 minutes or so, you want to come in and start and move that around. You want to mix this up. So my mise en place is ready for the cantaloupe soup. I'm going to start by taking the sugar and putting that into a sauce pot. So we have a nice puree, it still has a little bit of texture to it. I don't want it to be too smooth. And I'm going to add this puree to the sugar in the sauce pot. I have cornstarch and sparkling water. I'm going to take a little bit of that sparkling water. I'm going to make what's called a cornstarch slurry. And that's just going to help thicken up this soup. The remainder of the sparkling water I'm going to add to the cantaloupe mixture. I'm going to add the cornstarch. Now you may not need all the cornstarch depending upon the water content in the cantaloupe. So just as with the lime grenade, we want to cool this down quickly. Let it sit out at room temperature for a half hour to 45 minutes, and then you can put it into a refrigerator cupboard. And you want to let that soup get nice and cold. So we're ready to go ahead and serve this. I recommend a chilled bowl. Nice little compact scoop of grenades. That's going to go right into the center of the soup. Melon balls for some texture. And then just a little bit of mint on top of each piece of cantaloupe. So before I taste, I'd like to invite our two student assistants out to help. We have Marie and Jeanette. Each one of us grab some cantaloupe. Refreshing.
Very refreshing.
And there's our chilled cantaloupe soup with lime grenade.
Chef's Menu is brought to you by the Culinary Studies program at Australia Mountain Community College. For today's recipe, please visit this address.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education, what are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else? Or will you dare do something different? Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts? Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget. That'd be cool. Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
It's not every day that the audience gets to enjoy good food and mingle with the actors of a theater production. Lisa Aquafreda shows us how Spamalot performers and culinary students came together for a good cause.
Strange object I see before me. This eye stares deep into my soul and beckons me to join it.
She's really mean to me. Anyways, we have all sorts of festivities here.
Festivities? That there is.
We have silliness.
Joy, passion, entertainment.
Music! Do you know that one? They have a little auction that is, I heard it is called a silent auction, but it is quite loud and I have no idea how it works.
Everyone enjoyed a little fun to tickle the funny bone and tasty treats to satisfy the palate.
I've always wanted!
The first ever Spamalot fundraiser was underway.
Spam, theater,
made perfect sense.
All this fun.
We took an amazing opportunity to bring the theatre department, the musical theatre department, and the culinary department, and we mashed them all together and made an evening of pure, unadulterated dining entertainment.
I wish that you would join me, my friend.
Well, you need some energy here.
With one very important goal in mind.
All the funds raised from tonight's events support scholarships.
Without it, they won't exist and lives won't be changed.
1, 2, 3.
A green show is actually a little mini show that happens before a show that kind of mocks it.
And the overall goal was to get everybody ready for the show.
That's right, we need to get you into makeup and
That means interacting with commoners.
Are you of the Queen as well?
Oh dear!
Oh!
Enforcing zany rules.
Rule number 3! So that means if you drink some, you must drink more.
And enjoying a feast fit for a king.
I helped work on it doing old-style English dishes.
We tried to incorporate a lot of Spam in like the starter courses.
Speaking of king, selecting one, of course.
God save the king!
I believe that this, dear sir, shall be the king of our feast, for he has not enough hair to get in the way of the crowd.
And whenever there's a king,
Your Highness, can I please check your nails?
there's always a queen.
I've never seen this much wealth in my life. It's better on your skull. Thank you. Oh, you are too kind, a true queen.
Even the president of SEC didn't want to miss out on the entertainment.
To see them perform on stage and to appreciate the work that the faculty do to bring out this wonderful talent.
But it was the queen that was truly touched.
At our table was our former president. It was an honor to be with him.
When you combine theater and great food, it just brings people together. From Maricopa Now, I'm Lisa Aquafreda.
And that's our show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to stay tuned to MCTV for our great lineup of shows, including Inside Maricopa Sports and Enfoque and Tu Futuro. Also, check out our website at mctv.maricopa.edu and click on DeskTube. DeskTube allows you to watch this show and all of our regularly produced programs anytime you wish. Until next time, take care.
Don't touch that remote. MCTV has more great programming coming right up. Join MCTV every day for Inside Maricopa Sports, Enfoque and Tu Futuro, and our daily community calendar update, Campus Calendar.
The USO is for primarily active duty service members and their families. So if you were going to go on a little tour of this facility, our customers come in and check in here at the front desk, and they sign in on these new iPads we've had for a short time. And then if they've never been in here before, we give them a tour of the facility. They can stow their baggage back here, and then we'll take them through and we'll show them the kitchen area and the snacks they can have, and the refrigerator and freezer and what's in there. In the back, there are some big easy chairs where they can sit in front of a big screen TV and watch TV. There are also some computer stations in the back, and there's PlayStation and another TV they can sit in front of. And at the very end is a children's room where parents can relax with their kids.
It's just a real pleasure to know that we can be there just to say welcome home and be there to support the families. We're in the background, we're not in the forefront. We want to just know that we're there to help them or provide encouragement if needed.
Before there could be a nation, there had to be people willing to fight for it, to take on the world's greatest challenges, whatever they might be. So the U.S. Army masters not only tactics and strategy, but also physics and chemistry. We make battle plans and create breakthroughs in medicine, science, and engineering. Our next mission could be anything, so we prepare for everything.
Hi, I'm Peoria Mayor Kathy Carlett. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Peoria Pulse. If you live in Peoria, there is no doubt you have seen rapid growth all around you. In fact, Peoria's population has grown 50% since the year 2000. And while there are many reasons to call Peoria home, the common denominator for everyone is access to 570 acres of parks, 25 miles of trails, and the natural beauty of the hills and valleys of our Sonoran Desert. This is the backdrop of our daily lives and part of the highly sought after, unique character of our hometown. As we continue to grow, it is my job, along with your City Council, to ensure that we hold on to the characteristics that set us apart and the history that brought us this far. While this critical responsibility is often easier said than done, we are fortunate to have experts like Mark Hackbarth, senior archaeologist with Logan Simpson, here to guide us along the way. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's just such a pleasure to have you out here. We are here today at the beautiful Palo Verde Park, a park that I know you are very familiar with. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your history here?
Sure. My involvement started in about 1996 when the developer of Terramar Development said that they would like to do some archaeology. And that was because of the Corps of Engineers controlled some of the waterways here. And the site that was here was known for quite some time, like 1930s. So we came out and we did a little survey, identified the boundaries of the site, and then did some investigations subsequent to that before the houses were built.
And what did you find?
Well, this is the largest village on the New River. And so dating to about AD 850 up to maybe as late as 1100 AD. So a couple hundred years of occupation in here. This was the Hohokam village, and it probably also had smaller outlying farmsteads surrounding it. But the village center is preserved here in the city park, the greatest density of trash mounds, and probably underground is also the pit houses and other cooking pits related to it.
Wow, that is really, really exciting. So you came out here, you did a little excavation, and you found that Hohokam villages were here dating back to what year?
AD 850.
AD 850.
Yes.
Wow, that is incredible. That is so exciting, right in the middle of the city of Peoria. And so what did we need to do to make sure that we did not ruin the ruins?
The city of Peoria had a very good vision when they came here. They originally wanted to do a very large 20-acre recreational park. But when they found out that there were archaeological resources here, they decided it would be better to look forward to the future of how they can use it best. And one of the things that they did is they put a small recreational park in it and did archaeological excavations to recover information from the recreation area. But they also preserved about 15 acres of this archaeological site and as an open space. And now we are developing an interpretive trail to go through it.
Gosh, that is perfect. So here we are in the middle of an urban neighborhood, suburban neighborhood, if you will, and we've got a park, an area for people to bring their kids to play, and then we've got a reflective area right here where we are standing, and that feeds into open space, and now we're doing an interpretive trail. All the things that our citizens can use to benefit not only now, but for them to learn about our heritage.
And it goes wider than that because we have, the city has put the site on the National Register of Historic Places. So it has national exposure. And people do come and do heritage tourism and they want to see things, and this is one of the locations to come to.
Wow.
The city has interpretive trail and signage already in the recreational park as well.
Well, that's pretty amazing, and it's an asset then not only for the citizens of Peoria, but nationwide.
Yes.
Tremendous. So let's talk a little bit about land ownership, because the city of Peoria owns this land now, but we didn't always. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the land in our state and elsewhere is owned by the state and federal governments and some private development. So how does that impact us preserving our heritage?
A little history. This land was part of the land that was given to the state upon its 1912 birth. Okay, but someone came along and said, hey, I've got an idea for a homestead. So they patented the land, and from the 1920s up until the 1930s, they ran it as a dry farm ranch. And then for the longest time, it was just open vacant land being used for ranching. And then about the 1990s, the developer for Terramar came in, bought the land, and started to develop it using the zoning that the city had in place. And they also had to obey the Corps of Engineers, because the Corps of Engineers said several of these washes flowed sufficiently that they had to control the waters that go downstream. So the land goes from public ownership to private ownership to public back again. And what we've done is able to preserve this by judicious use of it. And so the ownership in other locations throughout the city that might be private can also be treated this way. You can get easements given to a public entity to preserve archaeological sites or natural environmental things as well.
Or of course purchase them.
Or purchase them.
Yes. The City of Peoria created a book called the Sonoran Preservation Program, and I think that you played a part in that, didn't you?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you did with the Sonoran Preservation Program and how that affects us as we move forward.
Okay. The vision for the program was really to integrate all kinds of resources, not just cultural resources. So the city looked at visual, water, wildlife, air quality, land resources, irrigation, transportation, all of these variables that go in to make up any city, and planned out what would be the best use for land. How would you make a city work the most efficiently? And what would you need to make people happy? And they invited people in for stakeholder meetings and said, what do you need in your neighborhood, that type of thing. And that kind of planning is necessary because then everybody gets a seat at the table and gets to have their ideas heard out. And it improves it. And that's what happened with this. There are basically intersecting open areas that were used for wildlife corridors, but also has water resources in it, and also cultural resources. So you get a 3-for-1 type of thing. And that type of planning is essential.
So without that kind of planning, growth can just happen anywhere.
Yes.
Rooftops upon shopping centers and shopping centers, right?
Right. And it's inefficient that way. If you start having strip malls everywhere, you need to have them concentrated or put where people are going to get access to them. Yeah. And that kind of planning is very good. And it deals with the cultural resources then too, about preservation in place.
And that is how we maintain the unique character that really is the city of Peoria. As we grow, there's going to be a lot of balancing that we have to do. Do you have any advice for us?
Well, the archaeological sites have been here sometimes for thousands of years. And it's easy to forget that they're there because sometimes they're not highly visible. But when you know where they are, the best thing is to avoid them. Put them into open space or to put a protective easement on them so that they don't get developed over. It's also the cheapest way to do things because you're not involved with excavation and recovery. If you look at archaeological sites as abandoned, you're not seeing the reality of it. The Native American community believes that their ancestors are still here. And so when you do data recovery to move the archaeological resources off so you can build a housing development on it, you still have to deal with the archaeological remains, including human remains. And so to have those removed is expensive. But they do go home then to descendant communities afterwards as well.
Oh, that's very interesting. I understand that you were part of the team that actually did some excavation of human remains in Phoenix.
Yes, most of the archaeological sites that I work on are habitation sites, prehistoric, and there are burials often associated with that. I've also worked at the first historic cemetery in Phoenix at around 5th to 7th Avenue and Madison Street. So there were human remains there as well that had to be recovered and reburied.
You had to excavate them and rebury them?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
That's part of the state burial law, is whether human remains are not property. You cannot own human remains. Okay. So they go back to descendant communities.
You have a very interesting job.
It's a lot of fun.
I'll bet that it is. Well, thank you so much for coming today and for being a part not only of this today, but of the history of the city of Peoria. We so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peoria is only halfway built out, and as the pressures of growth continue to mount, we must commit to ensuring our most precious lands and cultural areas, just like these, are safeguarded and accessible for future generations. In doing so, we will help keep our property values high, and we will better manage the growth that we know is going to come. all while doing our part to protect Peoria's heritage for generations to come. To learn more about open space, including Peoria's Sonoran Preservation Program, visit our Planning Department's website. Thank you for joining me today for another edition of Peoria Pulse.
Coming to you from the campus of Mesa Community College, I'm Drew Wathey, and it's time for Inside Maricopa Sports. On this edition of Inside Maricopa Sports, we'll hit the links with the Scottsdale Community College men's golf team and cousins from North Dakota who are now teammates with the Artichokes. Plus, we'll work on getting our legs in shape, on getting fit. Our first story is a recap of both the men's and women's regional basketball finals. For the men, top-ranked Phoenix College went up against Pima Community College, while the Lady Thunderbirds right here at MCC took on the Pima Aztecs. Mike Caratanudo has more.
It was another exciting and intense basketball season in the Arizona Community College Athletic Conference. Both the women and the men played thrilling games and had some amazing accomplishments. Let's take a look at the women's side first. On the Division I side, Coach East was dominant. Seventh-year head coach Lori Hughes' team posted an unbelievable 21-1 conference record. Their only loss was at Central, 71-68. Coach East finished 29-2 overall and was the #1 seed in the D1 playoffs. They beat Arizona Western, earning the 5th seed at the Division I National Tournament in Lubbock, Texas. On the Division II side, Mesa had a solid season. Led by 12th-year head coach Corey Stevenson, the Lady T-Birds were 19-3 in conference and 26-6 overall. That earned MCC the top seed in the Division II playoffs. The home court advantage was huge for Mesa when they squared off against Pima in the D2 championship game for the right to go to the national tournament in Harrison, Arkansas. Led by all ACC AC first-team guards Leah Goodman and Takara Wade, Mesa won 76-61 and is the 5th seed at the national tournament. Now let's shift gears to the men's side, where Phoenix College was looking to go to their 14th straight Division II championship game under head coach Matt Gordon. Under Gordon and the eventual ACC AC Player of the Year, Rashad Goolsby, PC finished 24-8 overall, but had a phenomenal 20-3 record in conference, winning it outright, a rare accomplishment for a Division II team. PC clashed with Pima in the D2 championship game and was looking to beat the Aztecs for the 3rd time this season. But behind all ACC AC first-team player Kevin Biggs, the Aztecs held on for the 73-70 victory. Pima is headed to the national tournament in Danville, Illinois as the #2 seed. Congratulations to head coach Brian Peabody and the Pima Aztecs as they look to bring home a national title. Both Corey Stevenson and Matt Gordon were ACC AC Coach of the Year on the women's and men's side. What a great season it was. To see how the teams did at the national tournaments, log on to njcaa.org. For MCTV Sports, I'm Mike Caratanudo.
You know, North Dakota is not what you would call a haven for golfers, but two cousins have made their way from the cold north to the men's golf team at Scottsdale Community College.
Mark Twain once said, "Golf is a good walk spoiled." But for two cousins, Mason and Cooper Opheim, the fairways and greens have proven to be their ticket out of North Dakota to Scottsdale Community College. The freshmen from Fargo played where and when they could growing up, even though golf courses were pretty scarce.
There's probably about 10, but we'd get out as soon as that snow melted and just start hitting the range.
According to associate head coach Jamie Harris, both golfers had the potential to be really good players.
Mason's a big lad, he hits the ball a long way. He's certainly got a lot of ability, as does Cooper. Cooper's more a field player, got a very good short game, quite tenacious, and they both got potential, and obviously part of my role is to bring out that and iron out what minor flaws there might be.
Off the course, Cooper said both players easily transitioned to the life of college students.
It's pretty cool actually, because we get to room together obviously, and if you get a random roommate in college, it kind of sucks sometimes for some people, but we know each other, we get along well, and it's fun. We've always played together in the past in Fargo, so.
In his first year in coaching at SCC, Harris, who grew up outside of London, knows the game well. He played in a few European Tour events and also teed it up in the British Open with a guy named Tiger Woods.
I played the Open in 2000 at St Andrews when Tiger was in his prime, and it was quite something to play the same course on the same day as this guy who, You know, there were greens I was struggling to hold with a wedge, and he'd be hitting, you know, a mid-iron in, and he could stop it, and it just shows, you know, how well he hits the ball, how good he is in every aspect of his game.
Both cousins fully appreciate Harris's knowledge of the game.
He's really kind of a role model, actually. We bicker a lot, we have fun games together, but in the end, he teaches us a lot.
Well, yeah, again, you're not getting far enough onto the right on the way back, and then as you move from the top, you're ahead of it. So that's where that shot comes from.
Away from the snow and cold in North Dakota, the Ophimes have found a playing home at SCC and hope someday they can room together again on the road on a professional golf tour. I'm Drew Wathy for Inside Maricopa Sports.
Welcome to Getting Fit. I'm Ashley Neville, and we're at SCC's Fitness and Wellness Center. Today I'm going to be showing you how to squat. Squats are one of my favorite workouts because it uses every single major muscle group to complete. So first, grab the bar. You have it placed behind the neck. Arms are about shoulder width apart. Make sure your feet are also shoulder width apart. I like to point my toes a little bit outward. So before you perform the squat, you want to make sure that everything is tight and engaged, including your core. You're going to look straight ahead, back straight, and then as you start to lean back, you're going to lean back with your hips first. As you lean back with your hips, your knees will start to bend, and you want to come down to a 90-degree angle, and you're pushing out with your knees. So you want to make sure that your knees and your feet are in alignment. Most of your weight should be on the heels of your feet. You should be able to wiggle your toes at the bottom. And then as you come up, you're pushing with your heels, and then you squeeze your glutes at the top. And that's how you do a squat, which focuses on the hamstrings, glutes, and quads. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Getting Fit.
Oh, thank you. Did you see anyone's broccoli? You moved this? Thanks for helping us. No problem. Is this strawberry? You're welcome.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
That's going to do it for this edition of Inside Maricopa Sports. For dates and times of our show, go to our new website at mctv.maricopa.edu. Check out our Facebook page for news and updates, and visit our YouTube channel for all of MCTV's original programming. For our entire Inside Maricopa Sports team, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for Coach's Corner coming up next.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner. I'm Drew Wathy. Well, joining us today is a former 4-time All-American at Michigan State in the 200 meters for the Spartans, and now he's smack dab in the middle of his first year as head track and field coach right here at Glendale Community College. Brad Fields, our guest today on Coach's Corner. Coach, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, Drew, for having me.
You spent a couple of stints at the high school level, at Liberty and also Shadow Ridge. Now you're on the junior college level. What's been the transition like for you?
The transition has been, goodness, it's been pretty smooth. It's been a real nice, easy transition. Just learning the difference between the college athlete to now from the high school athlete. The junior college, or at the junior college level, you have that opportunity to really get the cream of the crop, so to speak, from the west side or the Maricopa County area. So that's a real neat thing that we get to do, is we get to kind of, from a coaching perspective, get those kids that want to come out, perform, and possibly go to that next level, outside of a two-year college, and go on to that university, that 4-year university, and receive their degree and possibly run there as well.
We're real fortunate to speak to a lot of coaches for baseball, basketball, football, have team concepts there. Track and field, a little bit different. It is a team sport per se, but there's a lot of individual sports. How is motivating individuals as compared to overall teams? How does that come to play?
To motivate individuals, I think it's still that same team concept, because what we have to work on are, basically, as from a coaching perspective, from an athlete's perspective as well, is taking that time and having that opportunity to really trust one another. You have to be able to, from an athlete, you have to learn how to trust your coach, knowing that your coach has your best interest at heart. But then on the back end, the coach has to understand that they have that power and that authority, and to not to abuse it, by having an athlete and knowing what type of athlete that you do have, but to be also, that leader, that mentor, to be able to teach it from a team perspective, taking those events, which are, other events. We have, track as well as field. So we have field events, and having those field event coaches, helping to also cultivate that child or that athlete at that particular time.
Now, you've been around track and field athletes for a very long time. You competed at a very high elite level, qualified for the Olympic trials back in 1996. How has the athlete changed over the years?
I'm not necessarily sure if the athletes changed. I mean, I'm basically on one side of the field, so I think the athletes back in the day were a little bit tougher than these athletes nowadays. But goodness, you look at how science, really having that opportunity to really pinpoint and see from a camera's perspective, to be able to utilize, like a classroom perspective for that runner, to kind of have them start taking a little bit more ownership outside of just the eye, to learn, a little bit more about where their deficiencies or where their inadequacies are, on the track, to help make them perform a little bit better. So I think in terms of science, the pure science has really, catapulted that athlete. Yes, athletes are, much stronger and more directed now. How that science is being, basically used to help, enhance the abilities of that athlete.
And even from a nutritional standpoint, a lot's been made of that as well.
I agree 100%. Yeah, because me, before McDonald's fries, having that, double cheeseburger meal deal was probably the best thing, but, for me growing up. But nowadays, looking at, what the kids are eating in terms of performance, it's like, hey, you go out and run, you have your, your carbohydrates, and now, before, then after you finish with your events, then you're starting to look at more proteins and certain things like that. The nutrition side is very, very huge.
And that's also a critical aspect of a coach. Not only do you have to, monitor their progress on the track itself, but off the track, you have to be in tune with everything they're doing.
Correct. So what our approach is, and what I'm trying to get our kids to do, is really being more so self-accountable, having that self-accountability within themselves, and starting to build that, so that they're understanding that, hey, we're in season. Yeah, I might be at a 2-year college, but the thing is that when I'm in season, the right thing, eating the right things, putting the right things in my body, being able to get the right amount of sleep, being able to, sit back and talk to my coaches, if I'm having an issue in my classroom, being open with that is all a part of growing up and trying to be responsible and being accountable for your actions.
What has surprised you most about becoming a first-year head coach?
Goodness, there are quite a few things, but I'll keep those all under wraps. But the main thing that's really surprised me the most is basically the willingness for kids to really want to learn, to really want to learn to be the best that they can be out here on the track.
Talk a little bit about your squad this year. How's they shaping up?
Goodness, this year didn't have the opportunity. I came on in August, which was the start of the beginning of the school year, so I didn't have the opportunity to really recruit anybody to come in. But we came through really strong. We've had quite a few of the returners, and then we had brought on a very, very good cast of gentlemen, coming in. Still working on trying to get some ladies. So if there's ladies out there that that are watching as well as listening, that we do have the opportunity for some young ladies to come out and run out here on the track as well, and really start performing. But what we've done is taken that culture and basically built up on it. We started off, we finished the year last year, before I came on board. We finished the year with 6 girls, I want to say, and we've gone up from there. We started the season, with 13, 14 girls, and basically we ended the season probably with 13 guys at the end of the year, and we've gone up to like 22 guys, 22 to 23 guys on the team or on the roster that are participating full-time with us this year.
Coach, thanks so much for stopping by. Real great chatting with you. That's Brad Fields, head track and field coach right here at Glendale Community College. For Coach's Corner, I'm Drew Wathey. Hope to see you again soon.
Lightning strikes for a third time at Mountain Home Air Force Base with the return of the Air Force's newest fighter jet, the F-35 Lightning II. 7 F-35As from the 61st Fighter Squadron out of Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, arrived on Saturday, September 10th for 2 weeks of instructor pilot training.
The point of this trip was to get them the training that they need to be able to in turn train the students that we're going to have showing up. So it's to build up the proficiency with our instructor pilots to be able to teach these missions.
Mountain Home Air Force Base's range complex provides a unique training environment that mirrors situations faced in combat.
So one of the bread and butter missions of the F-35 is to locate and destroy surface-to-air threats on the ground. The range up here is world-class for that type of environment.
The instructors will use that insight to train new F-35 fighter pilots.
We're learning a lot, so we are just getting into what kind of tactics we want to use for finding and killing surface-to-air threats. The range up here, like I said, is world-class, and so we've been able to go through the tactics we've developed, figure out what works and doesn't work, and then build our instructional techniques, so it's been very successful.
This visit allows pilots to experience Partner Nation Coalition by training together with the Royal Australian Air Force.
So for the 61st Fighter Squadron, we have guys from the Royal Australian Air Force. They're part of the squadron, they're instructors, they're coming on trips like this with us, and they're full up part of the squadron. It's been an honor to be a part of that.
The instructor pilots will return to Luke Air Force Base with more tools to provide state-of-the-art combat power to today's fight. From Mountain Home Air Force Base, I'm Airman First Class Satya Burton.
The newspapers called us fly girls, like it was cute. It was okay. They called the men fly boys. But the message was pretty clear. There were people out there that didn't believe we could do it. We had to prove ourselves. Here's the thing of it though. We all have to prove ourselves. When your country takes a leap of faith, you have to take that same leap. They've placed their trust in you. In the Air Force, nobody will ever give you a job they wonder if you can do. They give you jobs they expect you to do. For most people, trust is something you build up to. For an airman, trust is where you start. Trust in your ability, trust in your commitment, trust in your loyalty. To have someone's back and know that they have yours. To be someone's wingman. You look into the eyes of someone staring back at you, just as scared as you are. You don't see fear. You see a bond. There will never be a moment when you are more connected to another human being than the moment you realize your lives are in each other's hands. Whether you ever see combat or not, you'll see that bond. You will rise to the faith that others have in you. Faith is a home for courage. Belief gives us strength. Trust carries us forward. We weren't just those first women to fly. We were the women after, and the women after that. We were every man and every woman that America ever believed in and our enemies ever fought. And we were living proof that it is a sad, sad mistake indeed to ever underestimate an airman. This is our Air Force. You are a part of it now. We're trusting you with our country. We trust you with our Constitution. We trust you with our flag, and we trust you with our lives. No one questions your courage. They count on it. No one doubts your commitment. They depend on it. No one is challenging you to prove them wrong. We're trusting you to prove us right. Aim high, Airmen.
I am the Library and Cultural Services Manager for the City of Peoria, and this library for us is really the fabric of this community. We want to be about educating, we want to be about literacy, we want to be about community, we want to evolve as our community evolves and do what we can to serve our community best. Everything that is done at the library is free. We have youth programming, which we do everything from story time, crafts, arts. We do educational literacy programs. We have great adult programming. We have computer classes that assist people with learning new programs. We have a teen program, which is phenomenal, which we're really trying to grow. We feel that our teens are really underserved, and we'd really like to see that population grow at both of our libraries. It's all about creativity. It's all about using your imagination. The library is a place where you can be and do anything you want. We are open more than any other library system in Maricopa County. We're open every single day, 7 days a week. Come and visit us, see what's going on here at the Peoria Libraries.
This is a story about challenges.
A story about competition.
A story about technology.
A story about teamwork.
A story about triumphs and setbacks.
A story about exploration.
A story about the past and future. I'm Caleb Kinchlow.
And I'm Molly McKinney.
And this is NASA 360.
This is the continuing story of NASA's Sample Return Robot Centennial Challenge. At last year's challenge, 6 teams made it to WPI to compete for the $1.5 million prize purse. It was an intense competition. Not familiar with Centennial Challenges? No worries. Caleb, let's get them caught up.
I'm here with Larry Cooper, Program Executive of Centennial Challenges.
Hi, Caleb. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. So, Larry, what exactly is a Centennial Challenge?
Well, Centennial Challenge is a NASA prize competition program. These prize competitions appeal to a different class of innovators, and literally it's a way for anybody that has a good idea and an entrepreneurial spirit, to potentially contribute to the nation's space program.
Well, as a whole, why are these type of challenges important?
The agency needs advanced technology to do our missions in earth sciences and space sciences and aeronautics and human exploration, and that's why we have a space technology mission directorate now.
What are some of the past successes that have come from the challenges?
Our astronaut glove challenge, like this guy right here. We were looking for an improvement in the glove so that the astronaut wouldn't get as much hand strain. 2 of the people that won our competition have gone on to create companies, and they're offering those technologies to organizations that are going to be flying tourists to space later on. We had a challenge which was our Lunar Lander Challenge, and 2 companies that won in those competitions are providing commercial access in support of NASA and other space entrepreneurs now. We're very much interested in seeing these technologies benefit everybody.
Now, can you briefly explain what the Sample Return Robot Challenge is?
Well, Sample Return Robot Challenge is a competition focused on robots and the autonomous software for those robots to go off and identify and collect samples. In my thinking, it's kind of like a giant Easter egg hunt for a robot.
At the last Sample Return Robot Challenge, there were competitors, the rovers they built, and the lessons they learned. There were frustrations and accomplishments. There were setbacks and successes. But there were no winners. So the big question is, what about this year?
We are back at beautiful Worcester Polytechnic Institute for year 2 of NASA's Sample Return Robot Centennial Challenge. And this year, it's tougher than ever. The teams have traveled from near and far. The robots are raring to go, and everybody's eager to see if someone will go home with $1.5 million. Before we get to the competition, let's talk with Centennial Challenge's Program Manager, Sam Ortega. Sam, why are we back here at WPI?
So we're back at WPI to do a continuation of the Sample Return Robot Challenge.
Why do we continue to keep doing this challenge?
When we establish our challenges and we develop the competitions themselves, we set the bar at a level that we don't expect to complete within the first year. Generally, it takes us 3 to 5 years to complete a challenge. So last year, the teams were getting their footing and getting an understanding and a feel for what it would take for the competition. This year, as the teams have progressed in their technology levels, we are anticipating that we would be able to award some level 1 prize money.
This entire challenge is about autonomy. So why is that important for NASA?
Well, so autonomy for NASA is going to allow us to go research and go search other places, other worlds, go search asteroid surfaces, be able to take robots to places we've never gone before.
Why are these challenges so important overall for technology?
NASA is always looking for unique ways, revolutionary ways to solve some problems. With that, we go to the general public, we go to citizen inventors, we go to academia, and we look to small businesses to see if they can't create those solutions for us.
What are you hoping to see at this year's competition?
We're really looking to see the teams that maybe competed last year to show significant strides in their technology, so that they've advanced from where they were last year. Again, we're really looking for somebody to be able to go off and find the sample, get to the sample, pick up the sample, and bring it back.
Hey, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we meet this year's competitors and the people who built them. Before the competition revs up tomorrow, teams are given one final day to prep their rovers and make sure they've got their game faces on.
Here in the pit, these teams are hard at work making last-minute modifications and adjustments to the rovers. There's some familiar faces here, and of course, some new challengers at this year's competition. What happened last year in the competition?
Well, last year I had basically just put it together. Okay, so I had just gotten it to barely work.
We weren't ready for the competition at all last year. We didn't have a chance, but we came out to show off our robot. We thought it looked pretty cool.
Looked pretty cool. Okay, so what's different now?
We're a little more ready.
What is the strategy, for this competition for you?
Well, the first one was keep it simple. I went to buy as much off-the-shelf equipment as I could.
What's different with these rovers?
Everything, actually.
Absolutely everything.
We realized that we were way too complicated, so we took everything back to basics.
The arm is very simple. It just reaches straight down and picks it up.
One huge advantage to having 6 degrees of freedom on the arm is that the base doesn't need to be positioned so precisely.
We have a very robust mapping and planning capability, so we're able to see in 3D.
It's been just challenge after challenge. Everything is like pulling teeth.
Challenges again this year with software. The tricky part is being able to tell, is this little white blob, is that just a piece of paper, is it a sample?
It's just not fully tested, and so some of the things that worked in a nice, tame environment may not work as well as I expected.
Well, there's a lot of integration challenges, just getting everything connected up and everything working together.
Rover 2's a little moody, I'm not gonna lie. He chased me earlier.
It's our friend and our nemesis.
It's violating the laws of robotics, and I don't like it.
The name, Robert, where'd that come from?
Well, I'm a teddy bear lover.
Okay. I like it. Robert's like discovery and cuddling.
Exactly.
What is your biggest fear out there on the field?
That this will run into the lake.
The fear is that I will be sitting there watching it. I can't run up and be like, oh, it's not working. I'll just move this.
1.5 million. It's a lot of money.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What does that mean to you?
Oh my goodness. We're gonna get a lot of phone calls from relatives. That's
$1.5 million.
Well, we won't be getting it actually because we are a non-American team.
So we're Canadians, so unfortunately we're not here for the money, but we are highly passionate about the challenge.
We just want to win. That's the whole thing.
Because that's really what our passion and our drive is to find new technologies, develop new algorithms, and hopefully, push the frontiers of space exploration.
We really want to be one of the first people to take it to the next level.
If we drive off the platform, hey, that's spectacular. If we drive into the lake, hey, that's spectacular. So we're in it for the whole ride.
Just keep trying until someone pulls this off.
Getting to the competition was no easy task. Teams had to meet all sorts of requirements and milestones before they could even make it to WPI.
And once they get here, it doesn't get easier. Before the competition even begins, judges have to inspect each robot to make sure it meets a list of criteria. Now, I've been watching you guys doing the judging. You guys seem so meticulous. Why is that?
Well, we have to keep the playing field level for everybody so that all the contestants have an equal chance. We don't want one robot to have an unfair advantage over the others.
Take me through what the judging process is like.
Yeah, so far the judging process has been going around, getting to know the teams and looking at the robots and kind of seeing what the approaches are.
So when we're going through the checklist, what we're doing is to make sure that they are actually following the rules.
Just talking to them about the specifics of their design, making sure they're not using any disallowed technologies.
For example, there's no magnetic field on Mars, so we want to make sure that nobody here is using a compass inside their robot to help it navigate.
Safety, really important, not only for the handlers but also for the public and for anybody who's observing.
And also safe to the robots themselves. Some of these robots are a big investment in hardware, and we don't want them, catching fire or damaging themselves or the field.
If you're on a real-life mission, the weight, the dimensions of a system is really important because you don't have enough space in a craft for different types of equipment. So it's really important to meet as close to real-life conditions as possible.
But we also go through a lot of technical stuff. I go through the schematics, for example, and I go through the software code. I have some deputies that help me do that.
So what are the things that you're looking for?
First and foremost is the performance. Will the robot do what it said it was supposed to do?
So it's kind of twofold. One, they have to fit the rules, but then we're also interested in what they're actually doing and how they're approaching the problems. We're complete with the inspection then.
It has been a long day. Inspections are over and the pit has been locked down. The teams may not adjust the rovers anymore. Now the next time we see these bots, it will be time for the competition. Hey, stay tuned. NASA 360 will be right back. The Sample Return Robot Centennial Challenge consists of 2 levels. Success in level 2 could earn you up to $1.5 million. However, before you can compete for the big bucks, you gotta pass level 1.
In the level 1 competition, each robot has 30 minutes to go out, find the pre-cached sample, pick it up, and return it to the starting platform. Oh, and remember, this all has to be done autonomously.
Last year, none of the teams were able to complete level 1. So this year, we're hoping for a different story.
All right, it's game time, and we are here on the competition field where the rovers are about to be moved into position. Now, the teams can only stand by and watch helplessly as their bots pick up one of these. Well, hopefully.
And they're off. Well, not quite yet. Team Wunderkammer has some technical issues and is unable to leave the starting platform.
Whatever's stopping it now is probably just something stupid that I did at, 10 minutes before 8 o'clock last night.
Next up, Team Kugelger and their swarm of robots. But one of their bots doesn't leave home.
Well, right now it seems like the 3-robot strategy justifies itself quite well.
They get close to the sample, but just miss it.
A lot of things can go wrong. You just hope you got everything set right.
But unfortunately, everything wasn't set quite right, and Team Intrepid runs into the back of the starting platform moments after taking off.
Now, what's your biggest concern with the course?
That hill.
Both of Team Space Pride's rovers are off to a great start.
Get away from the telephone pole.
Oh no, we're still okay.
We cleared it.
But they can't avoid every obstacle, and both robots run into the fence. Team Arrow has trouble getting off the starting platform.
My bet is that it's probably something really small. We're gonna go back to our work area, plug a monitor into it, probably slap ourselves on the forehead and fix it in all of 5 minutes.
And there goes Team UCSC. The robot thinks it finds a sample, but comes up with nothing but air.
We aligned it so that it would basically go straight towards the sample, but as you could see, it actually curved way too much to the right.
Team Survey finds the sample and gets in perfect position to collect, but a software glitch ends their run.
Last night we were trying to improve that and of course introduced a bug at the last second, right before impound time, so what are you gonna do?
Team Middleman's Robert takes the course.
It's moving. This is awesome.
But before it finds the sample, it starts smoking and forces an emergency stop. Next up, the tough little robots from Team Mystic Lake. One rover doesn't make it off the platform, and the other makes it a few feet and stops.
Well, I'll go find out what happened today. And
So you have logs or things to
I've
kind
got
of monitor?
logs, detailed, logs of all the information and a captured video of everything.
Last up, Team Waterloo takes off for the sample, and they're getting close.
No one
Team Waterloo successfully collects the sample.
What's left? We have to deal with it. It has to come back to the...
Get back on the platform.
But time runs out before they make it home. With that, day 1 of the competition comes to a close, and the successful completion of level 1 remains elusive.
So we are back in the pit, and the teams are pulling out all the stops for their last chance to showcase what they can do. Ken?
Hey, Caleb.
Hey, so what happened today, and why are we here tonight?
Well, what happened today was we had 10 teams that went through our inspection, and we're out there in level 1 trying their best. It was a great day for us. We had all the robots moving and doing their things, but no one quite succeeded. And so what we've decided, since none of them actually were able to return the sample back to base, we're going to give them a second day. And so right now you look back here, and there's a lot more going on in their brains than probably you see in their hands, because they're furiously trying to figure out how to make that little adjustment so that when we rerun it tomorrow, they'll have a chance of doing the whole bit.
Good. Well, in general, what makes this competition so difficult?
First off, it's fully autonomous. These robots have to operate 100% on their own smarts. Now that in itself is tough enough, but we've made it tougher because we're saying that they have to operate in conditions that would be in outer space, which means no GPS, no compasses, no cell phone towers, nothing that would be earthbound. And so when you combine those elements together with full autonomy, it's super tough. We had much more success than last year in that we had robots out there. We had robots that were finding the target. One robot did pull up the target, but wasn't able to get back. So it remains a very tough job.
Teams work vigorously, some through the night, to make their rovers competition ready, as they all get a second chance to prove they're up to the challenge.
Hey, don't go anywhere. These robots will be rocking and roving when we come back.
And with the whistle, that's the start of day 2 at the Sample Return Robot Challenge. First up, Team Space Pride.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna hit a tree.
Oh, we were planning for that. We're the only robot that's flipped.
With Rover 2 out of commission, Rover 1 rolls by the sample but can't lock on.
It just wasn't our day today, but we'll definitely be back next year.
Next up, Team Aero takes the field.
We had an issue with our startup script, which is why we didn't get off the platform.